was reminded the other day by a viewer of the cello talks that I have not talked about bow changes yet, so I'll do that now. I want to make the objective clear. I'm not going to talk about making a noiseless bow change because it's not within my realm of experience. I can tell you for a fact that I have heard every bow change that I have ever made in my whole career. Plus, I don't think I've ever seen a bow change in any level of player that I haven't also been able to hear. That for me is not the biggest problem. What is the biggest challenge when changing the bow is how not to break the musical rhyme. And very often what happens in a bow change is that the bow slows up around the bow change. So what you have is a dip in the sound. Why this happens. One of them is just in the ear. People need to hear this. The second thing is that we need a way, physically, to get from one direction to the other that feels comfortable. And there's two ideas that have been taught to me, that I've heard people describe, that have helped me a lot. One of them is the concept of what I would call the fishtail, or the way a whip moves if you do this with it. The idea that when you go this way, the larger part of the arm begins to come back before the hand. In other words, the tip of the tail is the last thing to change direction. And that's one of the first principles, I think, of a bow change that doesn't interrupt the line, is that the bow stays in motion at the same speed as much as possible. And the way to have that happen, working on this one idea, is that the arm does not stop moving. If the arm stops moving, and then starts moving again, you've lost your motion. So the idea of the fishtail is that, for example, on the down bow, that the arm begins to come back ahead of the hand. And on the up bow, once again, the arm begins before the hand, so that the last thing to move in the other direction is the bow itself. Called the paintbrush principle. If you've ever painted a wall with a large brush, you go up like this, and then you come down, but the bristles still go this way. You go like this, and then the arm comes up, the bristles continue, and go back up. So that's one way to keep the arm moving. There's another way to help keep the arm moving, which is has another analogy that I think is very good. If you drive a car to a dead-end street and you want to turn around, if there's no room to turn the car around, you have to just stop the car and then back up. But if there's room for a turnaround, you actually make a circle at the end of the street. The car never stops moving, and you come back facing in the right direction. This same idea is applicable to the bow arm, I think. And I made a picture. If you, for example, just go to the end of the street, stop, put the car in reverse, and come back, you have this stop here that really stops the motion of the arm. But if you do it the other way, you have something like this, where the arm comes out and makes a circle and comes back the other way. For me, this little circle, and I can't emphasize enough that it should not be exaggerated, the little circle at the tip of the bow for me is easiest done by keeping the arm low and then coming up, slightly up and around, so that the circle is like this. And you can see if I move my arm and just rise a little bit before I come back, the motion of the arm never stops. If I stop, if I go in a straight line, my arm has to stop before I come back. But the slight turnaround helps me to not stop the bow, and also at the frog, changing from up to down, you can come up and down a little bit, and tip, down and up. As much the same as possible right around the change. The speed of the bow at the change of the bow on either side is the most critical thing in the bow change. I would not worry about if you could hear the bow change or not, but if the phrase is dropped, that's not good. For example, if I'm not careful, it can sound like this. See what I mean? Even from the up bow to the down, if I keep the speed going, not to mention the vibrato, and here, notice how I lift a little bit, and the arm starts to come back a little early. So much different than I have to try to make it bad because it's become such a habit for me to do this. I do it naturally. So, remember the two things. The paintbrush principle, this thing, the fishtail, and the little circle that you turn at each end of the bow, and you'll have phrases that don't interrupt and bow changes that you'll maybe hear but don't disturb the musical line.